What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 71 of the Trainer Scoop podcast. Today, I'm very excited and happy to be joined by Doc, who is the owner of Plyobox Personal Training Studio, or do you go by Plyobox Gym, Doc?
It's a personal training studio. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, very excited to have Doc on with me today. It's getting back to the roots of the Trainer Scoop. Real quick before I turn it over to you, Doc, I just got to say, sometimes you hear a person speak and you can tell they're about that life. They have the passion, they have the experience and the knowledge that really you want to pursue and want to have a conversation with that individual. Doc, also a student with Fitness Online University. So shout out to FOU. Definitely glad that we were able to connect that way. But I heard you on the live with Blue a couple weeks back, maybe a month or two back now at this point. And I was like, yeah, I definitely got to get Doc on the podcast. So once again, man, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you for stopping by and chatting. And yeah, man, if you want to tell the people a little bit about yourself, how you got to this point, where it all started, and everything in between, feel free to go for it.
Cool. Yeah. I've been in the industry for about like 15 plus years at this point. Started out as a personal trainer, CPT. Then I got my CSCS. Then I got my PES, Master's Exercise Science, Doctor of Education. Went into sports conditioning, trained athletes. Then I went into corporate wellness, then community wellness, and lastly, I'm building gyms now at this point. But throughout all of that, I was able to really get an understanding and really dive into different parts of the industry, which is it's not something that a lot of people get to do. So I got to see a lot of the ins and outs of both sides, both the training side as well as the management side, but then also the infrastructure side. What's really out there, like what does the industry have in store for the next 5, 10, 20 years.
Mhm.
So part of what I do today is I trend forecast. So I try and identify what's next in the industry. Of course, I look at ACSM puts out a trend forecast every year, and it shows like top 10 things that are about to happen. But a lot of times I will use that plus my own data that my company, we actually pull data from a lot of different sources and um, independent information that we can basically identify what's next on the horizon that's not being identified by a lot of the bigger names. So I'm in a space right now that's very unique, but it gives me an opportunity to really kind of see things before the rest of the population sees it. And with forecasting, you're really making a lot of educated guesses. Some of them are true, some of them come to life, and some of them don't. No matter how much it's always going to be a little bit different at the end of the day. And I like that about the industry. The industry is always evolving, but you know, uh, being able to kind of be in it from for as long as I've been in it to see it continue to evolve is definitely exciting.
Okay, okay. Yeah, man, it's making so much sense the way when you phrase it like that, like especially with the trend forecasting. Like I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing with Plyobox.
Yeah.
Um, but man, like before we get into all that, like you listed off quite an impressive resume if I don't say so. So was there any points in there that like particularly stuck out because you've done so many different things at this point? Any particular like favorite eras of the career? Yeah, favorite like undertakings that you went through that time period?
Um, so when I did community wellness, I actually worked for Jane Fonda, which is you say her name, if you're in the fitness industry, Jane Fonda. So building out her wellness program for her foundation was really exciting because that's something that I never thought that I would have the opportunity to do. I think that in my earlier years, some of the bigger names, Jane Fonda definitely stood out, along with I don't want to miss anybody, so I'm gonna keep it with Jane Fonda because there's a lot of big names, but that was one of the names that my mother would watch her classes, and that kind of made me kind of see like, wow, there's an industry based off of something that was innate to me. Exercising I was fortunate to have good genes growing up, so I can't say that I was someone who worked out to lose weight and build muscle in order to, you know, to fit in. I just was fortunate that I was able to be rather, muscular as a child, but on the smaller side, because I'm not really a big guy. But being able to move into this industry was so easy for me. It was seamless because it was just like I would just who I am. It was part of my core, part of my essence. So working for Jane Fonda was just like almost like a dream come true because it was like, wow, this is one of the goats in the industry, one of the pioneers that actually really started this whole fitness industry. So that was probably the most unique and fun part of what I did
Yeah.
throughout the years.
Yeah, man, that's a I would have never known that, man. That's a I mean, like, that's a definitely iconic name. And I'm sure like the connections and just the knowledge learned from the role that you took within that definitely
Yeah.
propelled you onto to the next level. But yeah, man, I am, seeing some of the content I put out, definitely a little bit of a nerd in the academia side and learning about the theory of training, behavior change and nutrition as well. So you're quite the scholar yourself, Doc. So what's
You
some of
actually, what's funny is that you brought up, I think, you talked about trans
yeah,
theoretical
yeah.
model.
Yep,
That was pretty
yep.
interesting. I
Mhm,
was like, wow, you don't hear many trainers bring up the trans theoretical model.
mhm.
Part of my dissertation, I used a trans theoretical model to prove out my dissertation.
Mhm,
Um, and I don't remember the specifics of the model, but just hearing you bring it up, I was like, whoa,
mhm.
that's new.
Oh man, that was like one of those things where in the undergrad days, like it just got pushed so hard. By the end of
Mhm.
like undergrad, I was like, everybody was a little sick of it. But I mean, when you're in the mix and you're really doing this stuff, I really do think it's pretty accurate and like helping people progress through those like changes of behavior. It's a real
Yep.
thing. And it's funny, man, because like so a lot of the people that were in my major in undergrad, they ended up actually going to like PA school, they went to PT school, OT school. So they didn't really care about that stuff. And I was like bought in. I was like learning all about it. I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Like if we're trying to help people get results and improve your business and show your like ability as a trainer, like this is a big component. And I bought into it, man, and I'll never forget it. Like, there's a couple other like theoretical models as well that we would that are still back here that I could bring
Yeah.
up. But yeah, I appreciate
One of the
the
things
props for that.
I would tell trainers is that there's two things you need outside of knowing the body. Is I think one, the most important thing is being able to be a salesman. The second is being a therapist. And then third would be knowing the body. I mean, those are the three things you need to be a good trainer. And if you can pull those things together, you're on your way to being successful.
Man, and like if we think of it like I'm thinking back to the first job that I did as a trainer. So I lived in New Jersey at the time. It was like a hospital affiliated gym. So it was like it had some corporate fitness vibes, but it also was like they really did try to provide a great experience for the members and clients. It wasn't like anything sleazy. So I don't mean it like that, but like almost in that order of like sales, um, your ability to relate or like that therapist component you mentioned. So sales, like relation, and then like your ability as a trainer, your ability to understand that almost like which is almost unfortunate, but that is like what steered you toward being a good trainer or like I
Yeah.
guess a
Yeah.
profitable trainer is another way to phrase that. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's a really good like transition point that you brought that up. Some of the things that you're thinking about in the back of your mind of what makes a good trainer, what's important. Definitely interested to hear a couple of your own, whether it be like specific fitness beliefs, ideologies, your process when it comes to like bringing people results, whether it's just with training or like with the business side of things as well?
Yeah, I think when I brought up the sales part, I remember there was one of a gentleman by the name of Joe Purdue. I worked for him many years ago when I worked at Velocity. He owned the Velocity Sports Performance that I worked at, and he said to me, um, "If you can't, in every industry, no matter what business you're in, you have to be able to sell. Whether you're going to sell to a client, you're going to sell to your manager, your proposal of something." You're going to sell to another company, the reason why they should work with you, whatever the situation is, you have to be able to sell. And he pushed that heavily. He said, if you can't sell, it doesn't matter what you know and what you can do. You're not going to be able to do it with the people you want to do it with, because they're not going to trust you. You're never going to get them in front of your face to be able to actually do the thing you can do well. So I really took salesmanship as a skill set that I had to learn. Um, I think a lot of people shy away from that aspect of training. They believe that they're such good trainers that people will come to them. I'm going to age myself, but Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. It's not like that. People really need to see you in whatever. So, for example, I don't know if you were on our last call, last mastermind call, but I said I'm not a fan of social media, which I'm not. I really do not engage on social media often as an individual, but I realize the potential of this sales and marketing component that social media has. So that's why I have decided to join FOU and learn more about how to engage in that space that I'm not really comfortable with. And that's something that, because I know that that's how I'm going to sell to the client base that I'm looking for. I need to figure out which medium that they engage with the most, and that's through social media. So salesmanship is extremely important. And I feel that if that's something you're lacking as a trainer, you're not a trainer. You're just someone who knows how to exercise, because training is a business first and foremost. And if you want to be a trainer, you have to do the business part as well, and that's the sales part. You got to be able to sell. But outside of that, I think there are some things that I really, when I was a trainer, outside of the sales part, I really started to focus on the functional movement. Before functional movement was like the exciting trend. I just, like, for example, I probably did the least amount of crunches and ab exercises out of all the trainers that I worked with at the gyms that I was at, because I realized that by teaching functional movement, correct exercise, biomechanics, and so forth, that I could engage the core from the first exercise that we're doing, and I can engage the core to the last exercise that we're doing, as long as proper mechanics are in place. So that was something that I really gravitated towards functional movement early on. And it's something that I think that if you do it effectively, you can maximize your time without having to utilize every piece of equipment in the gym. You can really get a focused exercise routine in for yourself and your clients. And I think that's something that I've really hung my hat on as long as I've been a trainer.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. Like, and I imagine you were probably like riding that wave before it hit big. Because remember, probably what, 10, 15 years ago, that functional movement, it reached like a peak. I mean, it's still huge to this day. Like, you can't say it's not a huge thing, but there for a while it was like functional movement. And the fact that you had that like groundwork and base, that's big. And it just goes back to like providing great experience, great results, and meaningful training to your clients with stuff that really works, right? So like they appreciate the fact that your functional training system that you're helping them develop, it's doing exactly what they want. Like the core is such a big like key buzzword that so many people have in mind. They don't even know the health benefits and all of the positive things that will come from developing it. People oftentimes just want to feel better, look good, that type of deal. But Man, there's definitely something to that. And I mean, once again, it goes back to your ability to see the trends as they were coming. So that's
Yeah.
another thing that makes sense that you say that now. That's a cool thing. Also, to hit back on the sales thing. So I remember, when I was 22 at the time, and it's like different, right? For like a lot of people that go through like a traditional, whether you're just getting a cert or whether you're doing the undergrad. Like if you're doing exercise science undergrad, you better take a business and a sales, a money management course as like a something on the side, because it's not going to be in your main curriculum. So at least in many schools that I've heard. So like, do you have any advice for young up and coming trainers to hone their sales skills? Because I remember it was tough when I first started, man. I was not confident at all. I was fumbling the bag. Like it's not an easy process when you first start out.
So I know there's there's two schools of thought when it comes to becoming a trainer, right? You either go work at a big box gym or you work at a studio, right? And I I did not train at a big box gym, but I was a director of personal training for UFit many years ago. And when I did that, what I did like about that, and I think that you could probably find the same thing at LA Fitness, Crunch, etc., is that they had a standardized sales curriculum. And what I really liked about it was that you get to be in front of so many people. They have so many people coming in the door, and every time someone signed up for a membership, you got to talk to that person immediately. And you can really sharpen your teeth in that environment. Even if let's say you're training right now, you have your own business, and you just want to build that sales skill, you can work at any one of these big box gyms part time just to go through that sales training program. It's it's a cheat code, really is, because you don't, as an independent trainer, you don't get an opportunity often to meet 30 people um in like a 2 week time period, but you can do that at a LA Fitness. You
Mhm.
can meet 30 people and go through your sales pitch within that 2 week time period and really figure out what you're saying wrong, right, without any repercussions. Because in the street, if you meet somebody, you only have one chance to impress them, right? And if you don't, and that chance is gone, you may never see them again. But if you're at an LA Fitness, you may not see this person again anyway. But it's a throwaway because they're probably not even looking for you. They're not interested in working out with you, but they have to meet with you because it's part of their onboarding. So as part of their onboarding, you have to meet with this person and go through this script. But that will help you get comfortable in front of people, make those mistakes, say the wrong things over and over again until it starts to sound right. And then
Mhm.
you grab somebody and you make that first sale. And then you're like, oh, okay. Now I understand why they had me say that 5 different times and etc. And the thing is, a lot of their sales pitches are to me, sometimes they're overselling. They're very strong sales pitches, and I don't know how they really work on anybody sometimes. Like, this is crazy, but you can fine tune that because it's better to learn from someone who's done it a million times than going on your own and think that you know everything. What they have may not work for you 100%, but you can pull so much from that. And I think if I had to tell anybody anything about learning how to sell, that would be it for a personal trainer. Getting in that environment, just repetitively speaking to people over and over again.
That's exactly what I was thinking, man. Because like I was thinking as I was kind of formulating that question, I was like, what did I do? And I was like, I tried to read some books. I tried to watch some YouTube videos. That's not gonna do much for you, really. Like you might pick up something, but really just the reps. I mean, with everything in life, the reps are what really makes the difference. And I think back to before I left the gym, for some backstory for you, Doc, because I don't know. Yeah, this was like probably a little bit. No, this was like a year before you joined FAU, probably. I actually trained at this gym out in New Jersey. Honestly, looking back on it, it was a great experience to be in that circumstance for exactly the reason you said. You learn those skills, you get all that exposure, you get those reps, and I moved out to New Jersey for a girl. That didn't work out. So I moved back to Ohio and I started off my own little personal training studio. But I would have never had that experience, never had the structure and the ability to learn. Also, if you can get in with like a manager or someone, like if you can feel them out during like the interview process, if you're a trainer, if the manager is talking like about the money and talking about making you money, but never mentions your development, that might be a little bit of a red flag. So like try to,
Yeah.
luckily the manager that I had was great. The company, they put an emphasis on education, that company did. So I was pretty lucky, but I just want to highlight everything you said, man. Like, especially that's something I hadn't thought about, but like if you could go part-time at LA Fitness or something like that, that's a good insight right there. Like I'd have never thought of that, but that's a good point right there.
Just for the class at the minimum. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's frowned upon to steal their clients. I mean, that's not something they're going to accept. But at the minimum, just to but just at the minimum, just to get that structured training program and then get those
Hmm.
reps in.
Yeah, yeah. Got you. I'm definitely interested to hear. So like what made you decide to pursue like the masters and the education from there beyond just like traditionally what a lot of people do, whether they just get the cert or they go through like an undergrad and then get a cert or whatever it might be. What made you go above and beyond with that?
Yeah, so I had this two things. One, I wanted to stand out, right? I wanted to stand out from the crowd. I felt that there were a lot of trainers, a lot of people with CPTs. And I'm like, how can I be different? So the first thing I did was I got a CSCS. And I was like, okay, that makes me it's a big difference. Not many CSCSs out there. And then at the same time, I was working on my PES because there was a lot of the same information. So I was like, let me just try and get both of them at the same time. I had a nonprofit that I started called it's called ACEE, it's Achieving Change Through Exercise and Education. So I had this nonprofit, and I was trying to partner with this um, like this agency in Atlanta, and I met the chief something officer, chief operating officer, I believe. And he said to me, sounds great, everything you're doing. He said, but I'm not going to partner with you. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, why not? And his response was, you are very single-minded in regards to your focus. You see the baby coming down the river and you take the baby out of the river and you try and give CPR and save the baby. I was like, okay, well, cool. And he said, but what you should do is let that baby go up the river and figure out who's throwing the babies down the river. And I said, oh, interesting. Okay. And I said,
What
well,
an
how do I do that? He
analogy,
said,
man.
he said, this babies are going to continue to come down the river, but you got to figure out why. He said, but you don't know what you don't know. He said, right now you're too focused on the immediate problem and you're never going to find a solution for the larger problem because you don't know enough. And he challenged me. He said, if you go back to school, he said, I'll reconsider this request. I never went back to him because I just had other plans after that point. But that's what started me on my journey. So I had my master's already, I think, at that point. But I ended up going back and getting my doctorate, which was it was such overkill. I felt I was like I did not need a doctorate, but I like the challenge. I like the fact that you said that I was not doing enough, and I was like, all right. So what can I do? And then he mentioned school. He said maybe you go back to school and you learn more. If you learn more, then you figure out what that next step should be and how you can save more people. He said because as an individual, you'll save one person, but there's so many people you can save if you build a process that can address a larger problem. And that's pretty much why I went back to school and why I continue to get more certs and get my higher education. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Man, what a yeah, that's like a wild analogy. I was like, man, this would be interesting to see where this shapes up. But that's like, I mean, honestly impactful, right? Like and very, very true. And I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I guess I paid off. Like one thing that came to mind as you were telling that, and like I feel like honestly nothing can be harmed in the pursuit of knowledge. Like the network and the knowledge that you gain are probably paying off one way or another. But one thing that came to mind is throughout that process, like how did you manage like the financial cost of furthering your education and investing in yourself with just like everyday bills, the business that you might have been doing with your own personal training and that type of deal? Where was the balance there?
Yeah, so that's interesting because I was able to get uh some grants for the research that I was doing. And that helped. But a lot of it really came down to the fact that I was a lot younger at the time when I got my doctorate. I had
Mm,
less bills, less responsibilities. So I was able to, make that jump now with a mortgage, two kids,
mhm.
wife. It's not the same. I don't think that I know people who do, and I applaud them. I actually have a good friend. She's going back to work on her doctorate right now. And she has four kids, and she's high up in her company and she's making the time for it. So I applaud her. I don't think that I can do that today. But when I did do it, I had the time. So it was not as much of a burden. So I can't say that I was some sort of superhero during that time period. I just really was it was really the opportunity at the right time. And that's why I
Mhm.
was able to make that happen.
Most definitely. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's hard. Like for me, like I feel like I overthink some things, like investing in myself in particular. But I mean, that's good for me to hear too, man. So I appreciate you saying that. And for everybody out there, like sometimes you'll get hesitant about investing in yourself, investing in your education, continuing your education. You might think something like maybe we switch it up and like maybe you have an internship opportunity. You might think that's like beneath you, but if you can do that, especially like you said, while the demand on yourself is low, while you're younger, that type of deal. I mean, those things always pay off. It's done that for me as well.
Yep.
So that's a great
So one
point.
thing I actually learned during that process was it's funny when you get a doctorate, people think you know everything. I don't. Far from that. But what it is that I know how to find information. Um, and I think that's something that I did not know before. Um, right now, we're in a world where Google can do a lot of stuff for you, but um, Google cannot innovate for you because you're gonna pull up information that's already there that someone's already done. But what my doctorate helped me do was come up with solutions that did not exist. And that's something that regardless of what I went to school for, I think that anyone who has a PhD doctorate, something of that level, would let you know the exact same thing. So the way I see it is that with your master's, you fine tune your information. All right. So my master's was in exercise science, and it was very fine tuned on that specific area of my educational aspirations, just being able to understand biomechanics, um, understand physiology, exercise science, etc. But it was very specific. But then when you get to your PhD, you are even more specific. You kind of fine tune it even further. But this the sphere of what your knowledge contains is larger. It's hard to explain because it's like it's you it's tight but expands. If that makes any sense, it's like at the same time you're fine tuning that information, you're getting very tight on what you're specifically looking at, but it expands how you look at things because this is saying I've always said to myself. I don't know. I don't remember who the author is, but it's the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, and that's what it is. So as I got tighter into that space of wow, I know this so well, I realized like oh wow, I really don't know so much about because now I'm so much in it, and I'm like there's so much more there that I haven't even touched, and that's what that PhD gave me the ability to do to realize that that the information is endless and boundless, and it basically comes down to how far are you willing to stretch yourself to come up with solutions that don't exist because other people came to this point where they did not know anything, and now it's time for you to be one of those people who did not know and now figure out answers.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but like the premise of a doctorate and a PhD is like you have to develop some like original concept. You can't like necessarily piggyback off of something else or somebody else's work. Like it's got to be something that's like completely fresh and original to like solve some problem or explain some phenomenon, correct?
Yeah, for the most part. So the piggyback part, yes, you are kind of you can jump, you can add to someone's already existing work,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So if someone's already started down a path, you can say, cool, I like the direction they're going. Now, what if they would have thought about this? And that's
Mm-hmm.
where your research can start.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, but ideally, it's coming up with something that currently does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
You want to recreate the wheel. And if there is an answer already, like how can you make that answer slightly different to make it meet this demographic or meet this population or this regional, representation, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason why I bring that up is just like, man, the space is changing so rapidly. We have like AI and like the huge like integration of this computer generated technology that can answer any question and like I say that loosely, it can't do anything for you, but like it can help you do many things. But still that the originality, ability to develop like a concept. Yeah, that's I mean, and it kind of goes back to the forecasting trends thing too. Like there's something to that, man. I hope it doesn't fall out of relevance as like AI starts to develop too. But that's a whole different topic. Just something that came to my mind.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, how AI will change the fitness industry.
Mhm.
Um, my short synopsis of where I think is going is that we're going to. So I don't know if you've been following any of the news with AI. People have been saying the industries to get into are trade industries because no matter how much AI continues to grow, it cannot do the human activities. It can think, it can do a lot of mundane processes, but it can't do anything that requires change and motion and activities at that moment. So I think that personal training will be safe for the most part. So we've already seen how technology has kind of jumped into the fitness space with like Peloton or any of those types of the mirror, etc. But even with those services, you you're getting something that's already pre-baked, right?
Mhm.
You're not going to affect a special population. You're not going to affect an athlete, or if someone comes to you who is a, I think that Peloton and Mirror and all of those other competitors will do great for someone who is capable of doing this activity without any injuries, without any need for to learn how to do the activity. So biking, you don't have to learn how to bike. You can bike, but you can't clean and you can't jerk, you can't snatch by yourself. I don't care how many times you watch a video, it's going to look horrible and you're going to hurt yourself at some point. You need to have someone teach you that movement. And then if you have an injury or pre-existing injury, you're going to need to have that exercise modified for you. So you, you every athlete is going to need someone to push them, and you're not going to understand the level. An AI won't be able to understand the level of effort you're putting into something, but your coach can. So I think that personal training might be one of those industries that will still stay strong during the AI craze. So if you're looking for an industry, if you're watching this right now, you're trying to figure out, hey, where should I go that might last outside of this AI craze? Personal training in the fitness industry might be the place where you want to go.
Yeah, yeah. That's something I think about quite a bit too. And just because we only have 2.5 minutes before we got to hop off this and restart the call, there's actually something on that vein. I don't know if you've heard of the company Renaissance Periodization. Kind of
Yep,
like,
very
yeah,
familiar.
yeah, yeah. So I'm kind of linked in with those guys, and they have this hypertrophy app, right? So I'm not sure if you've seen much about it, Doc, but I feel like you'll appreciate this, and any of the listeners will appreciate this. So like essentially, you have to put in your starting weight. So if you have that knowledge background, like let's say I'm doing 140 on these pull downs. So then I would log this, right? And then it's going to ask me a couple of questions so that the AI can get a better understanding of how to program for next week. So it asked me if I have joint pain. I say none. And then I'll finish up the rest of like the back exercises because it kind of works this way. So it asked me about my joint pain. It asked me about the pump that you get, or like, I think it's kind of a good proxy for like, oh, did you feel this muscle working? So I'll say like low pump, it didn't really work that hard. And then like workload is another question it considers. So it goes easy, pretty good, pushed my limits, or too much. And so I'll say pretty good just for this example. And from there, the next week, it'll generate next week's set, rep, and a proximity to failure recommendations. So like for those nerdy individuals like myself
Yeah.
who are like, I like to have the numbers in front of me. I like that progressive overload component. It's
Hmm.
cool. It's cool to have, but like the app can't tell if your form is breaking down or if you're cheating on the tempo or if you know, you're rating these things incorrectly. So like there's just some things that I don't man, I don't know if
You
ever,
can't
but
even range of motion or whatever the case might be.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Hmm.
it's an interesting sphere here. I appreciate your insights on it too, just because you are very forward thinking. Definitely very interested to hear about the story behind Plyobox. So I mean when I first heard you talk about Plyobox in Fitness Online University, this was before it even opened. I was like, man, this is a really cool concept. It's a great business idea for personal trainers, very innovative in the space. Yeah, I don't think there's anything like it, or at least I'd never heard of it. So I'm interested on just like giving the people the backstory, the concept, and where you think it'll go from there.
During, I guess it starts really during COVID. Right. So during COVID, there were, a lot of gym shutting down. Everyone knows that everything shut down. But gyms really took a big hit. And and during that, I noticed some gyms were creating these like pods in their gyms. They were like kind of like cordoning off a treadmill or a dumbbell rack, and then you can rent that space out. I was like, that's interesting. And then I noticed that they were doing the same thing for classes. Like you would just have your own little pod and you can just work out in your class. And I was like, what if this was a year-round thing? Like, what if people were able to year-round train in their own space? Because I think that what we found during the COVID times is that we some people thrived in isolation. So I'm an introvert, and I did not take the isolation aspect of COVID the same way a lot of my extroverted friends did. So I guess I'm more of an ambivert, I guess you would say,
Mhm.
where I'm like I cross that line. I can be extroverted depending on what the scenario is, but most of the time I'm comfortable by myself. And the gyms that I build today, I build them with the idea that there are a lot of people who do not go to big box gyms uh, from various reasons. And so I learned something from this guy. I'm going to go on a couple of tangents. I'm going to bring it back around. So I met this gentleman. I forgot his name. I apologize, but he told me there are three types of people who have gym memberships. All right, so you have 20% of people who do not use their gym memberships. All right. And the number is actually 18%. So it's 18% of people actually have gyms, but he used 20 to round it off. 20% of people who do not use a gym membership. They have it because they have it. And then you have 20% of people who know what they're doing at the gym. And that'll be like you. All right. So you know what you're doing. You can walk in any gym. You can walk probably into a park with a dumbbell, just one dumbbell, and you can get a great workout in. I used to tell people that all the time. I'm like, if I walked into a park and there's a rock that I can pick up, I could probably get a good workout. I could teach you how to get a workout in with that rock,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
And that would be you and I in that space, and probably everybody that you speak to on your podcast. Then you have the other 60% that is ripe for knowledge, right? They need to know how to use the gym, what to do in the gym. But here's the thing, that 60% is also very nervous about going to the gym. The reason why is because they don't know what they're doing, right? So they don't want to go to the gym and then have, to get on any machine and then have somebody stand behind them critiquing their form. They don't want that because they're not paying for that often. It's usually just some random guy walking up, hey, if you try and do this exercise, and they're like, I didn't come here for that, and that'll probably be the last time they go to the gym. And that group is often not catered to, except by one company. And you know who that company is.
Planet Fitness?
Exactly. Planet Fitness realized that there's a huge population out there who does not want to be at the gym because they're scared. They're either, chances are, female, right? Or females who don't want to get hit on, females who don't want to, they just want to get a workout in. They're new to the gym. They don't really feel comfortable being in the gym. They just want to kind of get in there and get in and out. Or guys who are new to the gym and they feel intimidated by the meatheads, and that's why they call them meatheads at Planet Fitness. They have the long alarm and all the other nonsense, but it's there for a reason. It's because they're hitting a population that is currently not being focused on by Crunch or LA, etc. So that other 60% is ready to figure out how to go to the gym, but they also were doing so well during the COVID times because they were no longer, they were able to get on, they were able to make Peloton become a huge company during that time period. They were also able to start taking online classes and all the other things. And they realized that I don't have to go to the gym. But now that gyms are back open, people are becoming more social again. You have that population that now is trying to figure out, how do I integrate myself back into society? So you have this other 60% that's trying to figure it out. Back to the COVID story, right? So now we're in COVID. I see these spaces. I'm like, wow, the population I build the gyms for now, they would love this philosophy or this idea of gyms in a regular environment. And trainers should know that. So I started to figure out, how could I build these gyms. I started putting it all on paper and reaching out to some of my vendor relationships and getting pricing, etc. Found a location, built it out. So the first part of what I'm doing is I'm engaging trainers, because I think that trainers are, there's, so personal training I think is dying, right? I think personal training is dying. Group fitness is growing. And that's not because that's what the people want. That's what the trainers are following the trend. It's not what the people want. I think the people want personal training. The people want exclusivity. The people want, for the most part. Now, there's some that really enjoy the group environment. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people who enjoy the group environment, but that's not all. So the people actually want to have their trainer tell them what to do. They want that accountability. They don't want to be another number. They don't want to be somebody who's in the background. They want you to cater to them. That's why they're paying you. The first part of Plyobox is to bring that awareness to trainers, help them understand that there is another side of this business other than what's popular now. Because what's popular now is being created by a lot of the big name trainers that are out there. Everyone has their own brand and name, program, etc. And not only that, there are the Orange Fitness of the world, the F45s of the world, that really bring a lot of people together in one environment and have those individuals have one trainer train 10 15 people at a time. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but not every trainer trains that way. So I didn't train that way. I trained probably 3 at the max, and or 4 at the max sometimes. I never went above 5, but most of my classes were my small group sessions were 3, real small group sessions. But and that gave me an opportunity to really focus on, form, focus on, looking at every individual's needs, not putting everybody in one group and saying, all right, we're all doing this exercise, even though you can't do it. Just try your best. No, I'm really modifying exercise and making it make sense for every individual. And I think that we need to get back to that. And that's my first mission, is to bring awareness to trainers that they can make money personal training. So there's the idea of also getting to understand that you can train 1 to 3 people. If you make your pricing make sense, you don't have to have 10 people paying you $10 or $20. You can have 3 people paying you 60, 70, maybe $80, depending on how good your skill level and your experience is. So that's something that I'm trying. That's the first part, is make that awareness, put it out there. All right. Then the second part is going back to those individuals. So I will open up Plyobox to those who are interested in just working out in an environment where they're not critiqued by strangers, where they're not, for women, where they're not hit on by guys as they're walking through the gym, for guys who don't want to be intimidated because they don't know what they're doing. So an environment for that as well. So I'll open that up for them a little bit later on. Not right now. Right now, I'm focusing more on trainers, but I will be opening that up to the general public as well. And then of course, content creators, because content creators are everywhere. Every gym you go to, you're going to see someone, or 20 people probably, with their cameras out, tripods out, but that's not acceptable at every gym. A lot of gyms don't want you to do that. But not only do a lot of gyms not want you to do that, even if they do, you're gonna have somebody in your frame. Someone's gonna cut into your frame. Someone's gonna do something while you're working out. And you're not gonna have the ability to get a full routine in because you want to use that machine, but someone's using that machine, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the goal. And so that's why I created Plyobox. You have fully equipped studios, 300 square feet, rated for 3 people per studio. If you're doing a circuit routine with your clients, you can do that circuit routine. So a lot of times trainers' routines usually should last about 45 minutes, but they're lasting up to the hour or probably longer sometimes, or they have to cut it in half because they can't get to the equipment in time, or they're hiding equipment to make sure that they can finish the routine. You don't have to worry about that with Plyobox. You work your routine at that moment, do your circuit without having to worry about someone jumping on in between sets. Hold your weights. You can keep them there without any issue, and you can get a good workout in with you and your clients. And that's the goal.
Yeah, that's so funny. That last part you hit on. I remember I'd be like looking for this ab wheel with one of my clients. Be like, where'd the ab wheel go? And then I see like there's this trainer. Like, damn it, Jason.
Yep.
I know ab wheel on me. Um,
Exactly.
you hit on two of the things that I miss about having my own gym setup and personal training studio, the group fitness capabilities. Because, man, just compared to, there's nothing wrong with one-on-one training. I don't want to say that, but like the overall experience that the group gets, the way that people feed off of each other, the interactions, there's no like, oh, like some individuals are super easy to talk to for an hour throughout a training session. Others, it's like you're kind of you're struggling. So like the ability to play off of different personalities, people encouraging each other, it's a much better time. And like the fact that like there was several slots and days throughout my week where I could either be making like 40, $50 an hour or 80 to $100 an hour. One sounds much better than the other.
Yeah,
And
it's
that
true.
that group training model, like you said, like it kind of there was times for me, I'm sure for other trainers too, where you're like, damn, like this is a grind, this is a struggle, like the money's not great this week. And with that group training model, it's going to take time to get there, but I think it's a much more sustainable for the in-person setting, much more sustainable route to go. And you brought up another good point, which I think just goes to prove why, another point, you're a real one, Doc. You're able to actually coach the clients when it's like 3, I mean, anywhere from probably 2 to 5 beyond that, it gets tough. I feel like for me at least, you're able to actually coach them so they can get something out of the session. And when they decide to either move on or if they just want to get additional workouts in by themselves, they can be like, oh, this is the form I need to have for a squat. Like, this is how my knees should track. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I can intelligently piece together a couple of different movements to form an effective workout. Like the education and actual value component versus like large group like F45 Orange Theory, so much better with the small group setup, man. So great points there.
Yeah.
Funny story. I was hanging out with one of my friends on the fourth, and she does the F45 thing. I was like, how's it been? How's it been going? She's like, oh, I like the classes a lot. I was like, all right, humor me because I'm a exercise science nerd. You know this. I was like, so like, what do you do for an F45 class? I've never done one. She's like, well, she's like, so like one day we'll do lower body, we'll do like some squats and some goblet squats. I'll be like, okay. So like, yeah, you probably really not learning a lot. It's not like
Yeah.
everybody's trying to do that. Some people are just trying to go in and move and feel good and have
Yeah.
a workout. That's okay. But I thought that was funny still. I'm like, ah,
No, it
damn.
is. It is. You know, so I before I opened my gym, I did a tour of a bunch of different gyms throughout Atlanta. Um, and I wanted to kind of see like, hey, before I get into this, am I missing something? And I really wasn't. It's the routine, the not much periodization in the routines. It's really like so, and the reason why they can't, and the reason why they can't do that is because you sign up to come in when you can come in, right? And your trainer, you may train with one trainer this time, and next week you're training with somebody else. So tomorrow you're training with you can't go through a periodization routine if you're seeing five different trainers and you're hopping in and out at any different time. So you, you it's only really meant for one thing, and that is weight loss. Right. And it's basically movement for calorie burn. That's really what it comes down to. Right. So so your friend not being able to learn anything from it, that's probably fine if her goal, and that's the thing, a lot of clients don't realize what their goals are and how it really, how it plays off of the industry or the routine that they decide to choose. And if your goal is muscle growth, hypertrophy, or if it's um performance enhancement, you're not going to get that by just doing the same five routines of calisthenics and low dumbbell exercises and then treadmill, rower, etc. You're not going to get that from those large group classes. But I think the average consumer does not understand that. Like, oh, I want to put on muscle, so I'm going to join Orange Theory. I'm like, you may, but it's not the same. It's not, it's interesting. So I think there's a learning curve that we have to overcome when it comes to engaging the general consumer, because they go for what's marketed well. So you have to market yourself well. And that comes back to the sales conversation we had earlier,
Mhm.
learning how to sell your product and who you are, and the difference between what you do and what those other companies do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like we said, I commented on the post today. I say everybody knows the right move. They just got to make it in Plyobox. It seems like the move to me. Um, but yeah, Doc, I want to be conscious of your time. We're going on just about an hour here. But real quick, if we could get so I can get a clip for you too. Could you just explain how this works from the trainer's side, like the technology behind the gym, like how you rent out the rooms, how you get in the facility? Can you give the download from the trainer side as well, so we can get that clip as well?
Yeah, yeah. So, as a trainer at Plyobox, you would download the Plyobox app. It's actually two words: Plyo space box. Once you download the app, you would register, put your information in the system, and then you would you will receive a few emails, and the first email is introductory email. Then there's a welcome email that actually tells you exactly what you need to know about the program, and then there's another email that's really important. It actually tells you how to enter the gym. So what you do is when you go to the gym, you take out your phone, open the app, make sure your Bluetooth is on your phone. You press the word sign in that's actually on the phone. Hold it up to one of the Bluetooth kiosk in front of the door. It'll give you a click sound. You actually open up the door, walk right in. So it's really simple. You can register or schedule classes throughout the day. We're open 24 hours a day. You can schedule up to the minute before that session. So let's say you last minute client says, "Hey, I want to do a 6 o'clock class," and it's like 5:50. You're like, "Oh, cool! I can just go ahead and book that room because it'll be available if it's available." Um, each room has a automatic shut door from the outside, so you cannot, no one can actually walk in on you while you're in the session. Only you have access to that class. So security is paramount. It's actually in a great location, a block away from Top Golf in West Midtown Atlanta. The goal for the future is to have multiple locations across Atlanta, so that I'm really catering to the trainer that's not interested in the contract for multiple reasons. Maybe you're a mobile trainer, you're a home trainer, so you go to most people's homes on a regular basis, but you use Plyobox for those clients who actually want to be in the gym. Or for trainers on the east side and they want to start building their business on the west side, then you go ahead and you can get Plyobox to manage your west side clients. Or you're a trainer that is working part-time and you want to be able to move in and out on your own will without having a contract. You don't have that many clients, so you want to use Plyobox to be able to just get those clients that you have. Or you're a trainer that's full-time and you want more flexibility. You have high-end clients, possibly high-profile clients that don't want to be in a big box gym or don't want to be in a large studio. So you can use Plyobox to give them that exclusivity and privacy. Or you're just regular trainer and you have 1 to 3 clients. You have a full-time schedule, and you just want something that's unique and gives you that ability to go around from exercise to exercise without any disruption, distractions. Plyobox is for you. So it really kind of covers the full gambit. If you're a personal trainer, 1 to 3 clients at a time per hour, you can benefit from utilizing Plyobox.
Boom. Mic drop. That was good, man. That was good right there. And man, I feel like it goes without saying this next question, but it's always nice to have like a soft toss lob that you can knock out of the park. So what would you say is the biggest benefit of a system like Plyobox versus LA Fitness, something pretty generic like that?
Yeah, it's I think exclusivity. I
Mhm.
think that is what separates Plyobox from anything. There's nothing like Plyobox in Atlanta. The reason why is because no matter where you go, there's first of all, there's no shortage of gyms. Atlanta is full of gyms. And I said, if I'm going to build another gym, I'm wasting my time. Plyobox is not another gym. It gives you that ability to provide a service that is unlike anything else for your client. If you want to impress your clients, if you really care about the client experience, Plyobox is for you because it gives you that exclusivity that you will not get from any big box gym, any studio, any fitness environment, any park, any YMCA. It doesn't matter where you're training at. You're going to get a better client experience at Plyobox, hands down.
Yeah, I feel like that's huge, to build your business and to elevate yourself beyond, the first couple years of yourself as a trainer and take it to the next level. That exclusivity, yeah,
Got
it's
it.
8:35, y'all. Okay, long day. um, yeah, that is what is really going to make the difference. I noticed it in myself when I did the personal training studio, the private one, and yeah, just like the ability to not have to deal with the BS when you have your own system down, that's the biggest thing, man. So I really think that you have a very valuable service and I guess maybe a product too that people can utilize, especially trainers and content creators, people that will eventually have access to do workouts just limited to for themselves. So man, I can't wait for more and more people to hop on the Plyobox train because it's a great concept, and I really do believe it. Next time in Atlanta, next time I'm in Atlanta, I'm definitely gonna have to stop by, check it out. I was
Wow.
super bummed I couldn't make it to Ebony Fit weekend because I know they had a blast down there. FOU family had a blast with the content day. But
Mhm.
yeah, man, just if there's anything, because I want to be conscious of your time, anything else you want to plug, any other little quick pieces of advice you'd like to offer trainers, offer people out there, feel free. We're all here for it. Appreciate you, man. And now is your time, Doc. So go for it.
Yeah, yeah. So I am very excited to be in Atlanta opening up Plyobox, the first Plyobox. I think that we as a fitness industry need innovation. It's extremely important, and we have to make sure that we continue to push the boundaries, not be afraid to do things that have not been done. If we continue to do the same things over and over again as an industry, we're going to fall to the wayside. People want something new. The industry has to keep up with the demand of the consumer, and the consumer is looking for services that really reach them and resonate with what they're looking for. And we have um, Amazon Prime, next day service for everything. People want things when they want it, and they want it how they want it, and they're willing to pay top dollar for it as well. So we have to be conscious of the fact that as an industry, um, we've been around for a very long time. It's probably one of the oldest industries, the fitness industry. Um, but if we stop innovating and we just follow what's already out there, you're not going to get the clients that you want. You're not going to get the recognition that you deserve, no matter how many certifications, degrees, etc. you have. You have to reach the consumer where they are, and you have to take them to where they think they can be. Give them something to aspire to. And I'm happy to be on this podcast and talk to you about that today. I think Plyobox does exactly that. It gives people that ability to aspire to be more than what they are today.
That's a great closing segment, man. That was like the gems right there. So appreciate you, man. That was a great conversation. Dude, thank you so much for taking time to
Yeah.
talk. Um, Definitely feel free to everybody, if you're not operating a heavy motor vehicle or any other dangerous activities, just go ahead, follow Plyobox. It's just at Plyobox, correct? On like
So
Instagram.
yeah, it's at Plyobox Fitness.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, Plyobox Fitness. That's all my socials.
Perfect. So go ahead, follow those socials. They'll be linked in the description of the show as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and do my closing, Doc. So once again, man, thank you so much for hopping on and talking on the podcast. Thank you all for listening or viewing on YouTube. If you wouldn't mind, if you're on YouTube, go ahead, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share it around, all those things. If you're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, go ahead, leave me a 5-star review and write a review if you're feeling so inclined. Go ahead and check out the Plyobox app. We're battling the ops, and go ahead and leave that a 5-star review too, because certain individuals out there that just are hating. I know that was a thing we've been dealing with. So go ahead and support Doc in those ways. If you're not in the Atlanta area, if you are in the Atlanta area, I don't know what you're doing. You got to head over to Plyobox, check it out, see if it fits your business, because my guess is it will. But beyond that, thank you guys so much for checking out episode 71 of the Trainer Scoop podcast, and we will catch you in the next one.